Anne Maza is the co-owner and vice president of sales and marketing for Bay Area-based Olivia Garden, a global leader in the hair care industry for over 55 years. Olivia Garden was originally founded in 1967 by Maza's parents, Jean and Micheline Rennette in Liège, Belgium, and has remained family-owned and operated. Olivia Garden designs and produces professional quality hairbrushes, shears, appliances, apparel, and accessories for salon pros and consumers alike. Maza grew up in the family business, starting out as her father's secretary and working all of the industry trade shows from the age of 12. After earning her degree in marketing and finance from the Walter Haas School of Business at UC Berkeley, she joined her older brother and parents at Olivia Garden. Since coming on board full-time in 1995, Maza has driven business forward, focusing on product innovation with more than 60 patents registered and sales in more than 100 countries. Maza has been instrumental in securing relationships with high-profile and celebrity stylists, as well as ensuring Olivia Garden tools are used backstage at New York Fashion Week and for film and television projects. She created and organized Olivia Garden's first educational team and is the catalyst for all of Olivia Garden's marketing and advertising campaigns.
Anne, that's a bio and a half. Welcome to Volume Up by the Tees.
Thank you, Kelly. It's great to be here. I guess I've been busy.
I guess you've been busy. 60 patents. I guess I didn't realize the number was at 60 right now.
Yeah, and probably even more than that. But we have them all over the world because, we work really hard to develop unique products for the stylist. And, it takes us multiple years to come up with the idea and the technology that we put into our product. So we really want to protect it. It's only fair if you put all that work into it that you protect it from others who just want to copy you.
It makes sense. There's a lot of imitators out there, but being the OG Olivia Garden, here we are. So you have a fantastic story about your entry into this business. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got here?
Sure, of course. So really what propelled our entry, my brother and I entry into the industry was really our move to the United States. So when we lived in Belgium and, we would go help out at our parents' business from time to time, but it was more just to get familiar with what the business was about and just to keep us busy really. But when we moved to America, I was 12, my brother was 14, it became like a necessity. The job we were given was not like, just to keep us busy, on the after school, whatever. These jobs became very crucial running of the company just because my parents needed help since it was just the two of them and there was a lot of things to do. And, so we were at home, so we were available labor. So I started being in the secretary. We're talking 1985. For those on the call who don't know, there were no computers, there were no cell phones, there was no internet. It was the cave age, but we did live in homes. But but all jokes aside, it was a different world, different way of communicating. If you wanted to say anything to somebody besides a phone call, you had to type a letter basically and either mail it or they had just invented the fax machine.
Amazing.
Right? So my father had a lot of correspondence to share to things to say to his customers back in Europe because he had a business there, customers he was trying to get here, and then vendors all over the world. And so he would write them all throughout the day. And when I got home from school, I would type them up on a typewriter. And then we would fax them at the end of the night when they were ready to go after they were corrected. And if I had made a mistake or my dad had changed his mind, I had to retype the entire document because there was no way to just change a part of it. Anyways, it was fun. So that's what I did from the age of, one of the things I did from the age of 12 to 18 until I graduated from high school. And my brother became the accountant. So he was doing the books. So in addition to that, we also did trade shows because trade shows was another crucial way of growing the business in the United States. You took out ads in the magazines. And besides that, you went to trade shows because otherwise, how would people know you exist? So we were taken out of school multiple times a year. Trade shows were always during the school year. There weren't any during the summer. And we would go set up the booth, dry or fly all night, whatever, set up the booth, sell curlers at the time is what we were selling, and then pack it all up, drive home, and try to get back to school as soon as possible. Of course, do your homework while you're on the road. So that was kind of our thing. And, you know, this was, like I said, it was done in order to help out our parents because they needed it. But in retrospect, it was really our apprenticeship into the business, you know, which we chose to go into it. We weren't like obliged. We wanted to become part of the business after we're done with college. So, but in looking back, it was an amazing opportunity because in my case, every single letter my father wrote to a customer, to a vendor, to anybody, I read it, right? Indirectly while I'm typing it. So I started to learn what it was like to communicate with business, how you resolve situations, you know, I mean, indirectly, it was just a really great way for me to learn things. And of course, being on the trade show helped us learn how to sell, how to talk to people we don't know, you know, the best way to close out a sale and all that stuff. So that's kind of how, you know, that's definitely how we got into the business. And then after that, we both got our college degrees, which was something that we really wanted to do. And then during the summers of our college years, we would cold call on salons. As a way to learn how that part of the business, right? Because the more we could get done while we were still in school, just the better we'd be ready to go into the business once you graduated. So cold calling on salon was great because we work with distributors who have sales reps who work with the salon. So understanding where your customers' sales team is going through by doing it yourself first really helps you, you know, in terms of later when you're trying to sell your product to them, etc. So that was a really great learning curve. So we did that during the summers. And then once we graduated, we really just jumped right in and started, you know, working in our respective roles. I was always going to be more of the marketing person, product development. I mean, it is more in my DNA. And social media, communication, marketing, all that kind of thing. And my brother was always more into, since he majored in theoretical physics in college, which is the hardest branch, basically, of science you can have. He was always more analytical, so more accounting, finance, legal, all those patents he talked about. They need somebody to be checking them. You don't just have the lawyers write them. You got to read through them to make sure they're correct. And, you know, forecasting and all of that. So it worked out really well how our personalities kind of divvied up nicely for running the business. Yep.
That's amazing. I mean, to think about, you said the apprenticeship throughout, you know, since you were 12 and all of those incredible life skills that you gained, because what, you know, who's cold calling, right? I mean, the art of the deal and the cold call and the conflict resolution and the communication. I mean, what a really unique position that you were in to be able to learn so much about the business before you went full time.
Yep.
That's
Absolutely.
crazy.
It's great. It's the way to do it. If you're going to be running one day a company or in charge of something, you know, having done the different jobs at the company, you know, not only gives you an insight, you can manage them well because you understand what they're doing, but also it gives you credibility in front of your staff. So we also used to, of course, unload containers. You know, what did a container look like when we were 12 through 18 before into college? The container came to the lock and store, you know, where you rent a locker, and the container drove up there and we unloaded it, put it in the storage, and then the container drove away, right? And then, and even when we started moving out to an actual building, we were still unloading containers because you pay by the minute, basically. You have like a free hour. Anything above that, you've got to pay for it. So we wanted to get that container unloaded as quickly as possible to save money. So more hands on deck. So we would bring a change of clothes, get in a container with our team, empty it, and get that thing gone and out of there before that hour was up. So, you know, knowing that you also know how to, because you unload a container, then you got to figure out where you put it in the warehouse. You don't just randomly put the boxes there. So you got to prep for it. So there's this whole thing that once you're actually doing it, you're like, oh, I see. I've got to prep for it and all that stuff. So yeah,
that's incredible. And incredible too, that your parents kind of put you through those paces, because, you know, some other family run businesses, it could be that you just sort of get slotted in after college in a role and you don't have those experiences of actual hands-on work. So that's incredible. Speaking of your parents, tell me a little bit about how Olivia Garden came to be.
Of course. So my mom, Micheline, is the hairdresser and actually was also an esthetician in the family. So that's kind of where the kernel came from. So when my parents met back in the early 60s, my mom was a hairdresser, esthetician. Father was a school teacher, actually, but always wanted to be a businessman. And so when he met her and he started thinking about different ideas to start a business, he realized, he learned about the beauty industry and saw the opportunity to make high quality wigs and hair pieces to sell to the salon, who then would sell it to their customer. And that's how Olivia Garden was born, was from the idea of making products for the stylists that are higher quality, higher performing, bring some sort of innovation compared to what is available at the moment on the marketplace. And that's what really drives Olivia Garden still to this day. So they started Olivia Garden making wigs and hair pieces. And my mom would work all day in the salon because she had the only income. My father would go and sell the sample of the wigs and hair pieces that my mom had styled. We're strong believers in samples. So he would carry this like handmade sample rack with heads and like all the little different samples on there, walk into the salon, hopefully make a sale and do that all day. And then at night, come home with the orders. And then my mom, after working all day in the salon, needed to cut, color, style the orders to try to get them delivered to those salons as soon as possible.
That's incredible. So there's no question where that work ethic came from, right? Yep. It sounds like a similar story, generation after generation.
Yeah, we get a little antsy if we don't stay busy, I gotta say.
Always in motion. Tell me a little bit about kind of your ethos from like a goal and mission perspective and why you care so much about the hairstylist.
Yeah. So, I mean, we love the hairstyling community. I mean, obviously our mom was in it. Luckily, our parents are still around, but obviously our mom isn't working in the salon anymore. And, we grew up in the industry. So we have so many friends in the hair industry. And what we see how when we develop a product in conjunction with stylists, always, and we are able to resolve a problem or make their work faster or make their work last longer. I mean, for us, it's just such instant gratification that we're just so happy to see them be happy and more successful. So that's what Olivia Garden revolves all around. It's just, I mean, yes, we need to sell the product, obviously, to make a profit and to continue to be around, but we don't want to just sell anything. We want to sell something that's going to make somebody's life better. And it's not medicine or something like that, but in our world, we think, we're happy to see that we've been able to make a difference throughout the years. And, occasionally we get emails from even consumers who tell us how a brush has changed our lives, one way or another. For example, we have this really fantastic detangling brush, and we received an email from Ireland from a mother whose daughter has unfortunately a medical condition where she has to sleep with tubes, breathing tubes. And she wants long hair because she's a girl and she decides she wants to have long hair. And then her hair gets tangled around the tubes when she's sleeping. And she told us that upon purchasing our brush, it was the first brush that ever has been able to detangle. Because then when she would detangle her daughter's hair with the tubes and she would cry, that would cause problems with her breathing. Right. But with our brush, she's able to detangle the hair without any tears, without any crying. And it's just made her life and her daughter's life so much better. And so, those kind of things really warm our heart. That it's like, yes, we've been able to make a difference in somebody's life. So those kind of stories are great.
That's a good story. That's a great one. Since founding Olivia Garden in 1967, how have what's the product evolution been like? You started with the wigs, but talk me through kind of where you're at today.
So as you know, trends are very cyclical. So in the 60s in Belgium, wigs, hair pieces, super popular, early 70s, and they just died down. Like now it's all more like a natural, we're not going to use wigs anymore, and hair pieces. So of course my parents need to really they survival mode, right? Like this is no longer, I mean, obviously it's a slow decrease in their business. They're seeing like we're not selling as much. So what do they have? They have all the connections with the stylists, right? Because they open all those doors. So now it's a relationship business. So actually my parents switched to selling liquids. And the first and easiest thing was to get a brand and to introduce it into Europe. And they actually were selling Clairol. So they were the Clairol distributor in Belgium.
Oh.
And then, yeah. And they built, I mean, they had all the distribution and everything. And then over time, it evolved and changed, and they start making their own liquids. And they still sell a little bit of liquids in Europe, but mostly, of course, it's all tools. Anyways, in the 70s, there was liquids. And then in the early 80s, then they started to switch exclusively to tools. And we started with hair curlers because now the trend is perming, right? And so my dad invented a curler that didn't need a rubber band. The two curlers interlock together on the side. They're called Vario curler. They're kind of the concept of Lego blocks in a way.
Okay.
We had two wheels, and anyways, they connected. So there was no more the rubber band, which was a problem because it would mark the hair. Rubber bands would mark the hair, and that was always the challenge. And then the curler would fill up with this purge solution or the water because it was a enclosed curler with the rubber band coming. So, because it had two closed, right? So it has holes in it. So so all again, problem the hairdressers are having, solution found. And so we sold a gazillion of those hair curlers all over the world. And that's actually what propelled us to moving to America, was to open the distribution of Olivia Garden in the United States. And it was with our curlers. So wigs, liquids, curlers, which were really tool category, obviously. And then in the 90s, that's when we started making our own, making brushes, because now curlers, people were going away from curlers and rollers, and they wanted to use brushes in order to style their hair.
That's amazing. So very problem solution oriented is kind of the theme that I'm hearing.
Yeah.
How else have you consistently been kind of on the forefront of developing innovative products?
Well, I think that we spend a lot of time thinking about what's next, right? Because if you think of our product development cycle, which is anywhere from 2 to 7 years, in order for us to come up with a product, it's like we need to try to think ahead of what we think would be happening so that we can be ready by the time it's there, right? And so we do a lot of thinking, a lot of reading, and a lot of talking with hairdressers. Many, hairdressers are an amazing wealth of information because they are the ones in the salon every day and facing certain challenges. And we're so fortunate when they share those with us so that we can see if there's a way that we can address them. And so it's a combination of things, it's like sometimes it's a feeling that this is going to be a trend or a category that's really important. And then sometimes it's a demand from a request from a hairdresser or a set of hairdressers that are asking us constantly, for the same things. From different places. And we look at other industries too. Okay. Because sometimes what we innovate isn't always the product itself. It could be how it's made or the components that are used. So for example, when we came up with our Heat Pro brush a few years back, which is the brush that can withstand the highest heat resistant, which is 550 degrees Fahrenheit, we actually went to the car industry to look for what materials could we use for our purpose that could withstand that heat. So, we also look in other places in order to sometimes resolve challenges that we see.
Essentially, like, how have you, or the innovation from the different brands, like what makes your innovation different? Like, well, I personally know why it's different, but share with our audience what that might mean.
So, the easiest way to launch a product is to go to a factory's catalog, pick something out, you make it look and feel like your brand, and then you launch it. There's nothing wrong with doing that That is definitely the easiest and the most economical way and fastest way to launch a product. The only thing that doesn't work for Olivia Garden is because when you do something like that, is it just doesn't have any, it doesn't have that focus on a hairdresser and resolving the problem that they might have, right? So we need a product that we're going to be excited about, that there's going to be so much to say. And look, if you look over here, there's this little thing and you know what it's for. And inside we did this. And, there's all these things that we put into our product, even a comb. Our combs, you think a comb, I mean, how could you make a comb so different? Well, we recently launched a comb collection, and it is an engineering marvel because of the way that we really re-engineered a comb from scratch. Okay, what happens with combs? They fall all the time. What could we do to our combs so they're less likely to fall? We can't change anything about gravity, granted, but what could we do so that comb stays in that hand longer or more chances that it stay in the hand and not fall out, and then you need to clean it and all of that, right? So we get really nerdy about all those things. We get back to the basics. So you can't do that if you're just going to take something that a factory's already designed, right? And again, there's nothing wrong with that concept. It's just not how we're programmed and wired. We want to get to the bottom of understanding how a comb is used, and then from there, talk to a bunch of hairdressers about it. And then we start brainstorming, and then we design, we make a 3D prototype, we send it to hairdressers, they play with it, with their feedback, they send it back to us, we change it, and we do this back and forth, however long it takes until we feel like we have the perfect product. Then we go make molds, and then we can start production, right? So it's a very time-consuming, very expensive process, very long, which is why it takes 2 to 7 years. But in the end, you have a product that is truly unique and different, and that really is made for the hairdresser and serves their purpose. And that's just what sets us apart from others. But it's just how we're just wired like that, and we just take a lot of pleasure out of doing it too. So I couldn't imagine developing products any other way.
Yeah. How has that level of like that over management of all of those small details, how has that paid off for the brand and your community that you've built?
Well, I mean, I think it speaks for itself in the products that we've come up with, but having that attention to detail, I mean, from a management point of view, because I'm kind of like the orchestra leader, and I have wonderful teams around me, and so sometimes I'm like, can we like speed this up a little bit, really? But I know that like the extra steps we take, because sometimes when you've seen something for 2 years, you're like, are we ready yet? Can we go to production? And they're like, no, we still want to check one more thing. I'm like, okay, I know it's for long term, it's for the good of the product, so let's do it. But then let's try to wrap it up after, because we got to get to market with this. But it's paid off because, those details make a huge difference in the everyday use. And working with the hairdresser and giving us their feedback is just so many. On every single product, I have to say, a hairdresser in our test pool has made a contribution that has shaped the product. Like something I could like call it, this is the, like this little thing is thanks to this person, and that thing is and they love it, because when else do they get to impact a product, right? I mean, they never get to. They get to buy a product and like it or not like it, right? So I believe they really enjoy having an input that is valued, so that they can make a difference for the product in the end. So I think that's just invaluable. I'm so grateful for the team that we have out there.
Amazing. And you're right. The participation of helping to shape a product under the Olivia Garden umbrella has to be a career moment for them as well, right? So from an innovation standpoint, do you have some of the favorites over the years that you're like, we did it. It was this one. It was this product. What are some that come to mind?
Oh my God, it's like choosing between a child.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, of course, our new dryer that we just launched, the Super HP, is, a huge endeavor. because especially that one holds a special place in my heart because it's in the appliance category, which is an even more challenging category where, you know, you have a much, even more competition, and having a product where that is truly just a gem in itself in this very saturated market where there's a lot of people trying to make really good products already. I'm just extremely proud of it. And that we stuck to our development process from A to Z. We didn't, you know, skip anything, even though we ended up, you know, spending $250,000 on developing it, which was a lot. But ultimately, I know it's going to pay off so that because, you know, we're in it for the long term. So products are, you know, developed and then they're just going to like our ceramic ion brush, for example, you know, we launched in 2002, 21 years ago, and it's still a top seller, you know, so you put the work into it and then, you know, you've got a product that's going to have legs, right, for a long time. So the dryer is definitely one of those that I would put it as a special product because of just how great it came out, and also because of the category it's in being even more challenging. Not that designing a brush is easy, but we obviously have a lot more experience. We have decades of experience doing that. And so, you know, and it's a simpler product. Developing a brush is simpler than a very complex electronic equipment, right? So in terms of brushes, I have to say that what I really loved about the story of the OG brush, which is the brush with a removable cushion, the only brush in the world where you can remove the cushion. What I really love about it is it was during one of our basically think tank meetings, which is we call the OG Dream Team, where we get together with stylists and we dream together. You know, somebody specifically said, could you do something about liquid going behind the cushion of my detangling brush? Because after I put it in barbicide, I hear it's still there. And could you do something about it? Because it's not very professional for me to use it on my next client. So I got to set it out to dry for a really long time. And if it gets back there, does it ever really dry out? Like what else could be growing behind the cushion? And so when she said that, we're all like, okay, we'll try. She's like, will you do it? And we're like, we're not sure we can do it, but we're going to try. And then 4 years later, we're not slow, we're just very meticulous. 4 years later, to come back to her and be like, we got it. Check this out. So that was really special too. That, you know, like she like put that out there. And I mean, she could have not said anything. She could have thought it and not said it, you know, all that kind of stuff. So the fact she said it, we were able to do something about her desire to get that resolved and put out this really fantastic product. I'm really proud of that too.
That's really cool because you think about that innovation. It's something so simplistic that if you're not using the brush you're using your own personal brush, right? And then you put it in the barbicide and maybe don't think about it, but really interesting detail, right? That was overlooked in the past. Okay. I want to look back to the Super HP dryer. So tell me a little bit more about that, because I know innovating, as you mentioned, in the appliance category, I'm sure there's a lot of science and engineering that went behind it. Do you have those people on your team in-house? How does that process work?
Yeah. So we have engineers, product developers. We also include on our team graphic designers because, you know, they have a lot to say in terms of, so the engineers and product designers work, I mean, it's just, you want it to be all encompassing, and the look for us is very important. So function is number one, quality is number one as well, and performance. But for us, it's really needs to be visually pleasing as well, right? And there's no reason it couldn't be, right? Yeah. So we want to get everybody involved from the beginning because everybody has a valuable contribution at some point or another, right? Sometimes we talk really like technical stuff about the interior components. You know, some of the team like signs off because they're like, okay, you know, I'm going to go do something else. But otherwise, for everybody's involved because you never know when someone's going to have something to say. And actually it happened in yesterday's product meeting, which is a meeting we hold every day, product development meeting. You know, the engineer was explaining something about a new brush we've got coming out next year. And then the graphic designer's like basically resolved his problem. You know, it's like, what if you do it this way? And she like hand drew it in like 30 seconds. And she's like, what if you do it this way? He's like, oh, I hadn't thought of that, because he's working in his 3D software, trying to get the planes to work and line up, and she's, free drawing it. And she's like, what about this? And anyways, I love to see like all of that come together, but that only happens when when you can be together and you can be, free flow of ideas. So we have those members on our team, and then we have hairdressers on our team, and then we have hairdressers at large, right? Our amazing team at large that's in the salon every day, that love to try our stuff and give us the feedback that we need, because you cannot develop product in a bubble. It needs to be put out there in the test. It's like you're going to design running shoes and you're just going to run around your own office for a little bit to see how they feel. And like, I like them and that's it, right? You need to give them to people. They need to go run miles and marathons and tell you what they think. So you need you need varied opinions. And I always say, please don't tell me you just love it unless you really just love it. I want to know the truth. I really want to know what's wrong with it more than what you love it, so that we can fix it. Right. So that's kind of how, those are the different team members that are on our team. We're all very efficient and very to the point, we don't really waste any time.
Got it. So from an innovation of the brand from here, where do you see you going in the remainder of 23 or in the next decade?
Oh yeah. 23 is done. We're
already, that's true.
We're already on to 25.
Okay.
We're going to stay within our current categories is what we feel. There is always, shears, appliance, brushes are our stronghold, and we also make apparel. But we want to continue to round out our appliance assortment. So when we decided to get into the appliance, which is definitely our newest category, we did it exactly the same way we did our shears and our brushes. And the same way we just do things in our lives. We do it one step at a time. And we want to build a very strong foundation before we go on to the next step. And that's just how we've always, that's, some people take big risks and do a lot at once, and there's nothing wrong with that. We just like to do things very methodically and little by little, and then just grow from there. And we just believe in building a really strong foundation to our pyramid. So in the appliance, when we came up with brushes, we had, 4 brushes, and then we had 8, and then now we have 300. But, so in the appliances, it's the same thing. We're continuing to grow our assortment, because to be a top player in the appliance category, which is our goal, as it was and it has become in the brushes and in the shear categories, we need to, have a larger assortment, and we need to do it, but still true to our product development process. So we're going to continue exactly what we've been doing. But of course, that doesn't mean that you have to adapt to the trends and to the changes that you do. But, we're not going to become a liquid company or, hair color company. Or we're really good. We're very comfortable in the space that we're at in our tool category, I guess. And, but, I look forward to fun opportunities that come up in the future, because when you're a business owner, something you need to embrace is change, because it's going to happen regardless. So
indeed,
we'll embrace it.
Another area of innovation I want to talk about has been around sustainability. So why has sustainability been at the forefront of Olivia Garden's mind?
Well, we try as individuals, of course, to do the right thing, in our day-to-day life. But as a company, I never really thought before, because we're not a liquid company. Our products last a really long time. So already we're sustainable in that respect, because the quality is good. But then when, really when we were at home for COVID for so many years or months, at least at the beginning, including our children, and my children are young adults, and I started observing them, more than usual, because we were home, and watching their shopping behavior and hearing their comments with their girlfriends or friends. And I realized how really important, the environment is becoming, and how much they're concerned about, rightfully so, about where we're heading with environmental concerns. And so I thought, what could we do as a brand to reduce our carbon footprint? Is there something we could do? So we undertook that process during, the lockdown. I mean, we were all working just remotely. And I challenged my team and I said, okay, I want to reduce the carbon footprint of our company as much as possible. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. Like if we are contributing to any, junk being created, what could we do to try to limit that as much as possible within the bounds of reality? Because obviously have some limitations in that. And so we made a list. We made a list of every single thing and parts that we make or that we use in our products, in all of our products.
Wow.
And once we make that list, I said, okay, what could we change to reduce our carbon footprint in any of these things? And so we came up with a plan. We came up with a 5-year plan of how Olivia Garden was going to reduce its carbon footprint so that I could be proud of what we're doing. We could be proud as a company of what we're doing to try to help the environment. Granted, again, our impact isn't as much as something that's consumable that you're constantly needing to rebuy. But still, it doesn't matter. If everybody that can do their part in the long term, the addition of all of that is going to make a difference. And so for example, the first thing that was nothing is ever easy, but the easiest thing to do was to change our plastic bags. Yes, every brush came in a plastic bag. We always wanted the bag to be really crisp and really transparent, so it was really pretty, but that's virgin plastic. Now, if we went with 100% recycled plastic, it's a murkier, kind of milkier kind of plastic bag. Okay, it doesn't look as pretty, but hey, you're not generating new waste, right? And of course, the pretty wasteful bag is free. The not so pretty, good bag for the environment is you have to pay for, which is something, unfortunately, that's wrong because anyways, but it is, we're not going to get into that. So I said, I don't care. We want to do the right thing. We're going to pay to put the bag that is 100% recycled plastic. So we're taking old plastic bags and we're making new ones out of it. And we're not, doing something bad for the environment because every brush needs to come in it. So we're lucky enough to sell millions of brushes worldwide. Like you mentioned, we're in 102 countries. So that's a lot of plastic being put out there with every single brush. So I was so excited that we could do that. We could make it work. So all of our bags and all of our products have been switched over to 100% recycled plastic. So basically taking trash and making good use out of it. So that was the first step. Then we looked into our displays, of course. So we started to look at how we can use recycled materials then into our products. And the thing is, in this regard, we're pioneering because nobody's ever done it in our category. So we are taking on all the risks because the factories, they much rather use the virgin plastic that they've used for the last 50 years because they know how it behaves, right? When you say, no, I want to use this recycled plastic, they're like, okay, we'll use it. But if something's wrong with a product, it's on you. We're not replacing it. We're not, because you're the one that insisted on making this change, right?
Yeah.
So obviously we said, yes, we want to do it. And we've been testing before we launched anything. We obviously thoroughly tested it. And so we decided to go ahead and start launching product made out of 100% recycled plastic, and everything is fine. But also during the manufacturing process, it's also not as easy because you have more variants. So when you have a virgin product, plastic, how it's going to behave. When you have a plastic that's a mishmash of things, then you have different behaviors from different batches. There's just all these other processes that we've had to put in place in order to do this. So not only is the raw material more expensive, which we're also paying for ourselves, but the processes we had to add additional process. Therefore, the manufacturing is slower. Therefore, it's more costly.
Yep.
But it's all to do the right thing, right? So we're happy to do it. Very proud that we're doing it. Very proud that we're the leaders in it. But it's been a really fun learning curve. Stressful at times for sure. But fun to do something new, but also most importantly, do something that we know is good for the environment. We're taking junk and we're able to make new things out of it. So I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, as you should be. I mean, and doing the right thing, it feels good too, even though it it can be a little more painstaking, right? But at the end, you can walk away or end each day knowing that you're doing all you can do, right?
Yeah. And I hope my kids also are proud of, the legacy that Olivia Garden will leave behind. So yeah.
Amazing. Incredible. All right. So next up, we've got a little section that we call the Tease Quick Takes. And I'm going to fire away some questions and you feel free to let me know off the top of your head, your quick take. All right. The first one is, what was your first ever beauty product that you owned? It could be beauty or hair.
I had a brush in Belgium that had nails as bristles. Yeah. That was my hairbrush.
And you used that brush?
Yeah.
Oh,
my hair. Yes.
How ironic, the seat you're in today, manufacturing the best brushes in the world. Do you still have that brush?
No, but I remember it was wood. It was wooden. It had a white cushion and it had like little nails, metal bristles that were like little nails. And that was the brush. I'm not sure if that was like a leftover brush from when my parents had wigs and hair pieces, but they're like, here's a brush, use this. And that's all I use. So that's all I use.
That's amazing. Full circle moment, no doubt. All right. Are you superstitious? And if so, about what?
I am not superstitious.
Okay.
I hope I can, to some extent, control as much as possible what happens around me. But I will say that I believe in karma. Mm-hmm. And I believe that what goes around comes around. Mm-hmm. And so you put out good things out there, and at some point in your life, it'll come back to you. So, yeah.
I agree. And all of the good things that you're doing with Olivia Garden, they're going to come back. All right. What would you consider the ultimate comfort food?
Chocolate.
Chocolate. Okay. I mean, Belgium, right? I mean,
exactly. Yeah. Like a nice little lava cake with the inside that's all oozy and maybe a little chocolate sauce. I mean, a little caramel sauce on top.
All right.
Chocolate.
That I feel like I should have been able to guess that one.
Dark chocolate. Okay, let me be clear. Dark chocolate. Okay.
All right. Last one. Let's say you are on a deserted island all alone and you could only bring 3 beauty products. What are you bringing?
Okay, so I'm pretty low maintenance. So I have extremely short hair. So I would need my moisturizer for my face because I don't like to feel my face dry. I would need my styling brush to keep my hair down because I have curly hair and it can get unruly if I don't have a brush to like keep it down. And I would bring my massage brush. It's called finger brush, but it massages your scalp, because if I were to be stressed on this island, I'm not sure if it's like what kind of the situation is. It's like stranded, like airplane stranded, or stranded on vacation stranded. But then I probably would want my massage brush to massage my scalp when necessary. So
I love it. I love it. Not that nail brush. We don't need that on the island.
Yeah.
Yeah, would be no good.
It might be helpful for survival skills, but not for my hair.
Well, Anne, it's been a pleasure. Please let everybody know listening where they can follow all of your innovation at Olivia Garden.
Of course. So on Instagram, it's Olivia Garden _INT, which is our worldwide IG account. And same on Facebook. And I am at Anne _Maza. If you guys want to follow me, that's where you'll find me.
Amazing. And head over to oliviagarden.com as well to check out all of the information about the company and all the incredible products that you have. So, Anne, it's been a pleasure. I've known you for a couple of years, but I've learned a lot today too.
Well, we like to give full of surprises.
I love it. So best of luck to you in 2023. I don't think you're going to need that luck, but we're going to put out some good karma back over to you. Thanks for your time, Anne.
Thank you, Kelly. So nice to see you today. Thanks for chatting.